USA has acted to ban Russian oil imports. It's the latest sanction imposed on Russia over their invasion of Ukraine. The announcement from US President Joe Biden just moments ago. Let's go live to our correspondent in Washington, D.C., Simon Marks. Simon, just talk to us about the implications of this US decision, because it's not just going to impact the United States, it's going to have global repercussions, isn't it?
Yeah, without question. And it's important to underscore, Sally, that while the President of the United States there has been doing something that 1 week ago he was not planning to do, close America's doors to imports of Russian oil, on the other side of the Atlantic, simultaneously there have been big moves being taken by the British government, which says that it is going to phase out Russian oil imports by the end of this year, and by the European Union, which says that it is going to give up 2/3 of its current imports of Russian energy also by the end of this year. Now, that, of course, has the prospect of driving prices up. And you heard President Biden there warning American motorists that they are going to have to be ready to pay a price for this. In fact, they are already paying a price for this. Just within the last few hours, the price of an average gallon of petrol in the United States reached, for the United States, a record high of $4.17 a gallon. The country's never seen prices that high since record keeping began. President Biden said the United States is not, as he put it, going to subsidize Putin's war. And you heard there at the end that he was absolutely adamant that even if Russian forces succeed in taking a Ukrainian city here, a Ukrainian town there, Putin, he insisted, cannot win this war because of the kind of resistance that the Russians are facing from Ukrainian forces and civilians. But for the President of the United States, this raises a whole raft of new potential difficulties. Wall Street was trading heavily down this morning just on the reports that he was going to cut off these Russian oil imports, which, by the way, only account for 3% of oil consumed by the United States every year, whereas in Europe, Russian energy accounts for 40% of energy consumed by Europeans each year. But this clearly is going to lead to a tightening of the market. The Americans have been looking at alternative sources of supply. There was even an American delegation in Venezuela last weekend looking at possibly picking up the pace of supply from there. Rumors here that President Biden may be planning a visit himself to Saudi Arabia, which just a few weeks ago would have been unthinkable. The president at the time insisting that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman was still a global pariah over the killing of Saudi American journalist Jamal Khashoggi. But it is apparent that nowhere around the world, not Washington, D.C., not Gauteng, is going to be immune from what is going to be a soaring price of oil and gas, certainly in the days ahead, as the markets begin to digest the impact of all of this.
You know, even before this announcement, Russia was warning of catastrophic consequences if Joe Biden took this step, warning that they expect the price of Brent crude oil to go over $300 a barrel, but also concerns that Russia, and as you say, Europe is much more dependent on Russian oil than the US is, but Russia might close their pipeline to Germany. I mean, could we see Europe facing the worst consequences?
Yeah, and that, I think, is why the Europeans have been less aggressive about the action that they're taking than the United States, because they've got so much more to lose. But Vladimir Putin today, as you say, indicated that he thought the price of oil could more than double. He has indicated that it's possible that he will shut down supplies of energy through the Nord Stream 1 pipeline to Germany, given, of course, that the Nord Stream 2 pipeline's certification has already been frozen by German Chancellor Olaf Scholz as one of the first sanctions imposed after the Russian invasion of Ukraine began. And there remains still the threat by the Russians of striking at NATO if they believe that NATO is in any way intervening in this conflict. And President Biden very wary of the slippery slope to conflict that does exist between the United States and Russia. but also in that speech that we just heard there at the White House, warning against profiteering by American petrol stations. I mean, I can tell you we're already seeing absolutely eye-watering prices at petrol pumps, even in some parts of Washington, D.C. here, and that was before the president announced his moves. There's also going to be an impact for the aviation industry, of course, because it's not just motoring fuel that is going to leap in price, but also, of course, jet fuel, and the aviation sector so hard hit by COVID-19 and now facing the prospects of fuel price rises, which will have to be passed on to customers in the months ahead. So this is a long haul that President Biden is bracing the country for. Republicans, by the way, are quietly salivating over all of this, and in fact not all of them are that quiet about it. Former President Donald Trump putting out a statement a little bit earlier noting that the price of petrol had reached record levels in the United States and asking Americans, do you miss me yet?
Simon Marks, thank you so much for bringing us that breaking news from Washington, D.C. at this hour. So let's